every moment of your life. It's just like how to extract the right kind of information from that experiences and sharing with the recruiter or with the company so that you can show them that how valuable skills that you have or what you can add to, in order to their success or whatever they're looking for. So that's what is important to me. And then even if you're coming from the school, fresh from the school, and if you just work in the group project, if you can tell me everything about your group project, what the weaknesses were, what the threats were, what the success was, what the risk was, how did you handle your teammates, it's a good experience in itself. It's like how you excel in that project. That's what is going to tell me your personality and how you're going to fit with the role that I have.
I agree with that. I think do as much as you can. So if you do get opportunities to do internships, definitely take it up. There are like some people don't like the categories and stuff. They're not exactly, the data is scraped enough that you don't see the real worldness of it, but still the fact that you've tried to go through it and you can talk through it in terms of what was the business implication of the work that you did, right? So when you interview, you do that. Secondly, resumes, like the job description, you don't need to fit 100% in it. If you fit 70%, you should apply for it, right? And then when you apply for it, as I said, build your resumes such that it reflects why you are capable of doing that 30% more, but it might require you a few more months. The jobs sometimes do require, like we have entry-level positions in my team, and we have more senior positions in the team. So it's not always that you're not having enough entry-level positions. So that's one important thing. But yes, whatever your career journey is, you were saying, and Vinki, whatever she was saying is very important. You can lay it down such that it shows that you fit into that role.
You actually touched on the a follow-up question I would like to ask. Because it's difficult nowadays for many students to land some serious internship because many are international students over here. So what we are trying to do is that nowadays there are a lot of competitions, hackathon, things like that. I think you mentioned the Kaggle competition earlier, right? There are a lot of debate about whether Kaggle competition is a good indicator of someone's capability because the data set is provided, right? The question is well defined, right? You just go ahead, for example, just make a prediction, right? Use my machine learning or data mining model to make a prediction, right? So people have some doubts regarding the value of that. So I'm just wondering, can we say, okay, students get exposure experience with a lot of competitions or hackathons? Would that be a good way to showcase their experience?
Yeah. Definitely it would add. It also depends on the groups, what do you call their kind of like how much they are looking for the candidate. Right? Sometimes if they don't find the right candidate, they'll definitely look at the other ones which are best for them to actually follow that up. Right? So yeah, all these things will add. It's always good to do different things which can help them in order to be better position themselves to be, because there's so much of competition out there. Right. It's really not easy to actually go and in order to do ourselves a little better, we need to come up with new ideas which can help us better.
It differs from companies to companies. I know companies like NVIDIA actually go and check your GitHub profile. And others, they don't. So it differs from companies to companies. But I would say don't go overboard. You need to do what you're doing and do that well. Choose a few, go deep into them, understand exactly how well you can do it. So do a few things really well instead of doing a lot and on an average capacity. But do definitely, because it reflects your passion, your willingness to learn. And even if you don't have, it's like there's an ideal state of experience and there is a state where there is nothing. And there is that in between, right? So the more you do in between, that makes you stand out, right? But just don't go overboard with it.
So quantity is more important than the quantity. So I guess, for business analyst or data analyst, with something like, GitHub, whatever you have on GitHub, it's going to be something a big factor?
It's not necessary, but it definitely reflects, right? Because how do you contribute to the open source community? Reflects that you want to, enhance the community. Your GitHub is like a completely, like if you are brave enough to work on something and put it out there in public, it shows a lot not only about your technical skills, but about your soft skills. So yes, they help you.
And add to that, even if you are, techie, if you have technical skills, and if you wanted to share, there's so many social portals out there. You can just, share your experiences or your skills on the social portal. You can write a blog about it or something. And that's the experience too. And you can always share that, oh, I did this work. It's not necessarily internship, but yeah, it shows how your mind works and how you can provide the solutions to something.
All right, thank you very much. And next, we're going to move on to the questions regarding the job interview process. We have a few questions in that category. So some of the students are very curious, what kind of technical questions you might get during the interview process. Say this is for entry level, data analyst or business analyst position, right? So can you give us one or two examples? What kind of technical questions you might be getting for this kind of interview?
I have a 24-hour data challenge, so and it's a very open-ended. So I don't necessarily see that you could be asked to code on the board, and people do that. There are other companies that make you do live coding in person or remotely. So all that also happens. For us, we don't do that, but we have a 24-hour data challenge. We kind of went back and forth between a 3-hour in the company, kind of working through the data, and then having a 24-hour to think through and work on it, which is still less. But from our perspective, you want to see your creativity in tackling a problem. Problems are usually very open-ended, so you could take it in a few different directions. It definitely should reflect that you've tried a proper methodology to go through the data, to do your EDAs, and then to fit a few models and then choose it. So all that is seen, but it's also seen that how do you take that model and extract insights from it, and how do you take those insights to say that this is what I would recommend the business, and this is where I think it would add value. So that whole piece of your creativity, your business acumen, and your technical skills are tested through that, I won't say it's like a complete picture, but it's one good way of me to get a sense of, sometimes I've had candidates who are PhDs who are extremely technically good, and the entire presentation is about the technique and there is no business aspect to it. Though we clearly specified that in the first round that this is, if you were to go, this is what you would need to have, both techniques and stuff. And then there are candidates who are just so business focused that it doesn't show us how good they are technically. So that balance is very important. So that's what I use to judge your technical acumen. Plus we ask questions around like very core concepts. How do you interpret a logistic regression, right? So I cannot ask that question anymore. But that does talk to you about, like that you've thought through interpretation and, insight extraction. And like there are so many like engineers, and like there isn't anything that like, but people when they start thinking data mining, they stop thinking about what the model actually says and why you're using one model as opposed to the other. So those are things that we try to test out. So how good is your conceptual understanding, and on that you could fit a Python package and you could extract some information out of it.
And to add to her, that was really good explanation though. And any technical question, like any problem they give you, what I look for is just like how you break down the problem. So problem is not a problem in itself. There could be multiple problems underneath. So it's just like, how your analytical brain works, and that's the more important thing for me to know. It's not like that, I just gave you this problem, you solve it, you gave me the right technical answer, I'm good with that. There's going to be multiple things going on in the technical world. So it's like how you analyze it, that's more important, and how you get to the bottom of the problem. and then provide, are you a solution provider, or are you another, problem creator? You might have seen those people too. Some people they always come with a solution. They look, okay, they break down, all the way at the bottom, and they'll start providing solutions. Some people are, oh my God, this is the problem. Oh my God, this is gonna happen. Oh my God, this is gonna happen. So you might want it to stay away from those kind of people. So that's the kind of line for me.
Yeah, if it's like an entry-level position, I probably look for their basic. I would know that they're not too much into technical stuff because they're just starting their career, and probably I would look at their approach as to how they tackle the problem in terms of analytical skills, how they break it down, and what is the judgment that they use in order to resolve the resolution when they bring it. So that would be my take for them, that okay, this guy, if presented with a problem, he has the right technique to go and address the problem, and that makes me a little more persuasive towards that guy.
Can we say things like capability of problem solving, like critical thinking is the main thing rather than just pure technical thing? Actually, you guys kind of remind me an interview question I got 20 years back when I was still in China. I think I mentioned that in my class a little bit, and I was interviewing with the BCG. Okay, so they asked a question. I think they still this kind of question was kind of popular, but I think not so much so nowadays. The question was, okay, can you please estimate how much milk Beijing City will consume in one day? How much milk will be consumed in Beijing in one day? So, I guess they're not looking for your accurate estimate, right, answer, right? Okay, you guess, or my guess is closer, so that's better, right? And that's not the point, right? So the thing is that how you approach this question, right? Break it down, like many of you already have mentioned, right? You have a way of solving this problem. Step 1, 2, and 3. What's the logic way, critical way of providing a solid answer, right? It's not just okay. You just make it the best guess you have, right? I think that's something I think very critical important in this field of data analytics and business analytics. Yes, I think this kind of question was asked a lot, like I think 10, 20 years ago. From what I know, because I've been in academia for much longer now, and they no longer ask this kind of question. Yeah. But I think it's a good practice to have this kind of capability of problem solving. Okay. All right, and
just to
yeah,
add
sure.
to that, there is though that they don't ask these abstract questions
Right.
anymore, but they do ask you, like at least we do ask you real business, like a problem that we've actually solved, and we lay this was what the objective was, this is the data that you had, and how would you approach it? And most problems don't have one fixed way of approaching it. So we just see like how you are approaching the solution, if you're thinking through the critical pieces of it. So yes, problem solving is there, but it's not as abstract as
Right.
it used to be. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think pretty much most the interview in the end, I think interviewers will ask interviewees, right? What kind of question do you have for us, right? So we're just wondering, for you guys, when you're interviewing people, what kind of question impress you the most? Can you give us a couple of examples, right?
I would be really impressed as if they ask, why should I be working for you? I'm really interested. What is the thing at the end of the day? The other guy also has the same position as me. He can ask me, why should I work for you? Why should I work for this? I should be able to convince him that, okay, then I think that he's in the right frame of mind.
Yeah, for me, the similar lines, but a little bit more deeper question is somebody asked, because I think most of the time what happens is people hear versus listening, and I'm not sure people really understand the difference between hearing and listening, because you go to the interview, most of the time you see candidates, they're just hearing. Like they're getting all the information, but they're not listening carefully, because in the end, when you ask them, do you have any question for me? They'll say, oh, no, I think I'm good. All your fellow workers, they gave me all the answers. I'm really good. But that's it, you're done. you're not gonna get the job right there. It's kind of saying bye. So basically what happened is, if you're listening, you will have a question, because there's a curious brain. You wanted to know, what I'm gonna be doing in this job? So you wanted to know, what is the threat to your success this year? What is your goal for this year? Where you wanted to see yourself, and how do you see me a fit in this role, right? So you wanted to understand too whether you like this position or not, whether you want to work here or no. And that's what is the connection right there. And if you don't ask that, then seriously, it's not gonna work out. If you say, no, I don't have a question, most of the managers, they don't like that. They see there's no interest.
So like what questions what would be an example of a question you ask again that you ask the employer, they ask that what questions?
See, that's what I just said, hearing versus listening. So if you're listening, you will know what the right question to ask, because when you're listening, all the answers are in all the questions. When you're listening carefully, you will figure out what you're gonna ask, because there might be something that manager can tell you, and you are curious to find out about that job, and you're gonna ask that particular question that's gonna trigger more questions. And the conversation is gonna go on.
I think another way to think about that is don't come up with like a package set of questions, right? So if you go and ask the standard question of, some questions are genuine, right? What kind of projects do you work on? What are the other team members? Do you collaborate in the work? And what is the visibility into the roles? Those are genuine questions. But what she's saying is that if you're listening, you will relate that question to what she specifically said, right? So the question would be a natural outcome of the conversation and the gaps that was not filled, rather than canned question that you heard that everyone asked. So make it relevant to the conversation.
All right, wonderful. I think I'm gonna ask one more question and then turn it to the crowd. Okay, see what question they have. This question is about the hiring process, and I think I think I could expand that a little bit. For folks sitting over here, so they're wondering what might be the best way to network with their potential employers, and how to reach out, and then to be more seriously considered for the jobs, right? And what's the best way to network and to help them find the job opportunity?
Let's say go to the right forums, go to conferences and job forums and stuff like that. Meet people. Always be open to connect to people without a goal in mind. That's because that comes out if you have that objective that this person can get me a job. That comes out very easily. So have a genuineness to your approaching that person to learn. Try and find a mentor if you can. If you like someone, if you approach someone, try and find a mentor. When you approach that someone, like have that genuineness in terms of your intention. Lay it down, think through it, and put it down that this is why I think you might be able to help me, and I would like to be connected with you. Networking is very important. It's very difficult, but once you start doing it, it gets easier. So just open up, just start doing it. And the other thing I'll say, don't do things like you've just had one round of interview and you've sent a LinkedIn request or something like that. It just becomes very pushy, right? Or if you do, and if you really like someone, you can add some commentary that would say why you think this person would add value to it, and definitely not from, because if you've just interviewed and you're doing it, shows that it's just from the job perspective. So it should be a larger networking role than to get a job.
Yeah, I would say that I agree with 100%, because connections are very important, and then how you create the connection is very important too. Like, if you go, like going to a friend, if you have certain motive in your mind, some interest, and you wanted to become friends with that person, you're not like true to that nature, right? The connection won't be good. So same way goes with any networking skills when you go out there, meet with people. So do not have any intentions, just like meet them openly and connect with them. And if you're generally looking for something, it will come around, and you'll get the help what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think the first thing for students is I'm sure that their participation in the class will be, I mean, I'm sure that when they participate, others will know that this guy is really, he can, some people can gauge their, ability to some extent. It's not that they'll know completely. And eventually they build right from the class, they connect to their fellow friends who are their classmates. From there, that's the starting point. And second thing is you go to these open worlds that are there, like Oracle Open World, SAP, something like that. There are multiple, for students, these are all free. So you can go and you can understand what the industry is looking for, right? And then if possible, you can basically get in touch with others. You can build a relationship, and in case if there is an opportunity, always something can knock at the door. You never know.
All right, and next we're going to open up to the audience over here. Any of you have a question for our three panelists? Anyone? Okay.
We heard that you gave a list of skill sets that are required for us to when you go in for an entry-level job position. So there will always be a gap between what we learn in the industry to what is expected in the market. So now if you Google, there are lots of coming up on your searches and stuff. So what is the best way to fill this gap that we have from learning in the university to marketing ourselves as a good candidate perhaps?
I think one thing that would help is do a lot of research before you actually interview, right? Know the company. Like for Clorox, we have many brands. It's very clear if you haven't researched. I asked the question like, what's your favorite brand? And the person would invariably say Clorox because that's most popular, but we have other brands, right? So do research and then think through some things like, okay, this is what I learned in my academic life, and is there a problem like a brand like Clorox might have that the two can come together? Right, so if you've learned about segmentation and classification, right, what would be a classification problem for a brand like us, right? We might want to know that if someone is going to buy or not, right? So put that in context of what the company might have as, and think through a few ideas. So when you have an interview and you're saying like, I was just thinking of like, we could probably, in your team, you could probably do this. Are you looking into this problem? So it just shows that you're thinking through it from a business perspective. I think that can be really helpful. So do a lot of research for the industry. So if it's a CPG, consumer packaged goods, and then the particular company, do that research and do a bit of research to also understand where your interest is, right? You might not find CPG interesting. You might find healthcare interesting, or maybe you don't know enough about CPG, so you don't find it interesting. So do that bit of background work to understand what domain is mattering, because as an analytics person, domain is very important for you to add value. So, but everything starts from what you're passionate about. So if you don't feel any passion for what you have learned, don't go for it. You choose the job as the job chooses you. So always have that in mind.
Yeah, to add to her, she's made a very good point. And that to add to that, you always wanting to know, do I wanted to do that? Because first you have to explore yourself, what you wanted to do. Because most of the time people are looking for the job just for the sake of job, just to sake of making money. If you ask somebody, why you wanted to do this job? They'll just go blank. I can tell you right now, nobody will have the answer. You say, why you wanted to work for Make America, for example? Blank, no answer. So you wanted to ask that question for yourself, why I want to work for this company, first of all? Why I wanted to do this job? And once you have the answer, you will connect well, because the research will be worthwhile for you. Looking at any company, any culture, any value is going to be worthwhile for you. It's going to make sense for you that why I'm doing it. They'll have some purpose, something is there that's connecting it for you.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Hi, so when you have someone new on board to your team, typically how long is the training program?
It depends. It depends company to company,
Like in your
and depends
organization?
upon the job as well, like how long the and plus your learning capacity, some people are like, they're getting things like this day one, they're just doing it, and some people, they just wanted to take the time, understand everything, then they wanted to take off.
And as a manager, like how long you start to evaluate if the candidate or the employee is a good fit for the team?
No, typically what happens.
Go ahead.
Typically what happens is like there are these skills training. Skills training are like you have to learn some new programming language which you are not aware of. So you are put into that kind of training. But then on the job training, once you are done with your skills, now you are faced with the real industry problems. Then you start working on that. So probably about, it depends, like 1-2 years. Typically when we get the appraisals, we just say that new to the job. So probably it's not that we put that bar right away that immediately after 6 months I need to have this guy as outstanding. It's not going to be possible unless the guy is really super smart, right? All these things are known. Like it's not that. That's why companies, when they do take time in order to bring somebody on board, they ensure that they give enough time. And managers do think from that angle too, that you can't just expect miracles out of the employee right away. So you need to have that period for them to get accustomed to the business and then the working way of working methodologies and everything. So then probably it all depends from manager to manager and group to group. But in general, they don't expect it right away.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So my question is connected to the this previous question. So what is the time frame you have to evaluate, like 2 months or 3 weeks or just 1 week?
No, when you are talking about time frame, it's not like, it could vary from a consulting business, right? If you are hired as a consultant to a company, they don't give you all the training and everything. They expect you to perform right from day one. Because their requirement is that because they are not able to do it in their in-house, they are bringing somebody on board. So if they start training them, then it loses the business value for them. So, but if you are working as a full-time employee, typically you are given the skills training and then the on-job training that they would use to gauge your performance over the period of time. Right? It's not going to be immediate. It takes some time for you to understand the whole business and then connect it and then do the job.
The only thing I'll add is that if you've been chosen for the job, you have the minimum threshold that is needed, right? So if you've made it, that means they understand that you've just come from an academic background and that there would be that ramp up for you to understand the business and to perform. So as long as there is that, again, the genuineness that you're trying, you're interested, you're curious, you're working it out, and you're there because you can. So it gets figured out, company to company, the training period varies, and the amount of training varies, some companies might not train you, they want you to learn. The other thing I'll say though is also that when you're new, no matter it's if your first job or you're changing into a new job, you always bring in a different mindset. Before the company starts like acquiring your mindset and a thought process, right? So be open to be creative and innovative. And that's the best time to be innovative and creative. So don't always question yourself back that, I am too junior or I don't have enough experience or I don't know this company cannot. Because during the first 1 or 2 years, you would be bringing in fresh ideas. And those fresh ideas, you might seem like, you might resist sharing it, but they can add a lot of value. So it's okay to talk about it, and if the culture of the company is not encouraging you, then there's a problem with that culture, right? So use that fact that you're new and you have an innovative way of thinking through it, because you are not engraved in the way the company does things.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add to that. I tell my employees when they're on board, I usually tell them day one that you're gonna start thinking all rules are my rules, starting now. Because see, if it's my rule, I accept it willingly, right? So getting into somebody else's rule, we have a barrier, we have a wall, I don't wanna do that. So I just make all my rules myself, so I bring my creativity on the table like she mentioned, So it's like you're adding a new flavor to the culture. So like I usually say that wherever I go, I bring my own culture. I am the culture. So you should come with that kind of optimism, that kind of attitude, and the things gonna start falling into place for you guys.
Actually, I can provide you a data point. I'm not sure how relevant it's going to your question. Some of you guys know my wife not too long ago switched to a new job, but it's not entry-level job, it's a senior data engineer. And she needs to learn a new tool, okay, for the project they're going to do in their team, okay. So the manager says, okay, you let me know how long it's going to take you to pick up this new tool, and then you are ready and to work on the project our team is working on. So you set your target. So it's not like, but this is, like I said, it's not an entry-level job, But I think it might apply to some of the, things. So I think that's another way to look at it, just for your information. Yeah. Oh, yes, sure. Sorry, I'm finished.
I've been raising a hand for the last.
So I'm just very encouraged as 2 out of the 3 panelists are women, and I just wanted to ask how is your experience as a professional in this field, as you like the work environment with your coworkers, and also like how you think your strength when it comes to if there's any gender issue, and
Valid question, it's, so I don't know overall analytics. I've been more on the data science, like I got straight out of my PhD into data science kind of work. But in data science and tech, I can tell you that be used to being among the few. Some companies are different. I think like Clorox, I was very surprised that there were a lot of women, which also makes the culture very balanced, and which is really nice. But before that, in the roles that I were almost always in meetings where I was the only woman or one of the 2 women in a room full of 10, 20 people. But there's nothing that's how it is, but that doesn't mean anything for you. You are there because you are as good as everyone else in the room. So be confident. Never think that I'm bossy or something. Those are misconceptions, right? Because it's perceived that you're bossy because you're a woman and you're a leader. So don't think about all these things. Don't draw lines for yourself, right? Behave like everyone else, feel like everyone else, and be completely confident. I think that the industry has changed a lot over the years, and there is a genuine attempt to increase diversity because of the understanding that diversity is important from, not only because, it's just fair, but it's also because it adds real profitable value to the company. It brings new thought processes. So don't, and the other thing I'll say is, I was just at a conference, we were in a women's for an analytics luncheon, and the person who was speaking gave a lot of valuable advice, said things like, you'll have to say no, you cannot be able to manage everything, so you have to let go, achieve that balance, you don't have to do everything.